Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, people are looking on the modelling that takes place in the United States, saying, look, actually, the kind of hoops that people are expected to jump through in the United States really is tantamount to voter suppression.
Well, exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. People are reacting to the American thing, and clearly, in some states in America, there was an attempt to use the question of voter ID to disenfranchise people. But that's not what's happening here.
So why not accept... Necessary. Okay, so very, very simple question. Then why not accept a photo Oyster card from an 18 or 19-year-old as you would for a 61-year-old?
I don't have an opinion about the details. I don't have an Oyster card myself. I don't know about these things at all. The fact that you can get hold of a free voter identification card solves the problem, apart from anything else. But I don't have an opinion about what forms of ID should be used. Okay. But by the way, if I can just extend the argument a bit, just a slight further, I actually don't approve of the way in which the postal votes have been loosened up since New Labour days, because that allows not only for the fact that these postal votes are not necessarily secret votes, but it allows family members to put pressure on other family members to vote in a particular way, so it's not free and fair voting.
Adrian, thank you for your call. We've got Julie, we've got Chris. Let's try and, if I can ask you to keep your points brief, because I know there are some of you who want to talk about the replacement for Richard Sharp at the BBC, and I'd like to get to that if we can. Julie, what did you want to say?
Hi, Anita. Just a couple of points. I don't consider that it's an issue if only since 2018 there have been 9 convictions and 1 in 2019, given how many people vote. It doesn't seem to be a huge problem. Yes, people can apply for an ID, especially to be able to vote. How many young people know about this? Is it advertised all over social media or TikTok or wherever they get to spend their time? I doubt it very much. How much does it cost to set up the department? It obviously hasn't been for free. People haven't gone to organise ID for people in a government department out of the goodness of their hearts. It's a paid job. People could do with working on things that are necessary rather than something that is not necessary. And one last point, all young people who hit the age of 18 have been to school or to college. Why can't there, if ID is required, why can't a teacher, a lecturer, or somebody verify ID? Just simple points. Now I've lost you. Hello?
I'm sorry, we seem to have lost the line briefly to any answers. We will try and get you back to them just as soon as we possibly can.
He's the longest-serving heir in British history with a 7-decade apprenticeship. But what do we know about the new king, Charles III?
One of his great superpowers was always as a convener, bringing together, for example, environmentalists and world leaders.
I'm Sarah Montague. Through interviews with those who know him well, and by going back through the archives, I've been gathering a picture of the man who's about to be crowned at Westminster Abbey.
He knows Britain in a way that probably no other king has ever been able to do.
Join me for Charles, the Making of a King, this evening at 8 on Radio 4 and BBC Sounds.
Within the BBC, we all call from our own correspondent, just Fook. And I often think when I'm away on a story and I see or hear something striking, ooh, that's a bit fooky.
Ooh, that would make a good Fook.
For me, it's a place for the strange stuff.
The unexpected, the left field.
The little details that sometimes say more than everything else.
The things that linger in the mind's eye.
Filing for a radio programme that can bring those global stories home and make you understand why they matter is the most valuable thing any foreign correspondent can do.
From our own correspondent, Saturday mornings at 11:30 on BBC Radio 4.
This is BBC Radio 4, and I'm afraid we're having a few problems, which means we can't bring you our scheduled programmes. Our apologies for the disruption. We're doing our best to restore normal service as soon as possible.
No one around me was vegan, so it was constantly like, why are you not eating chicken like everyone else?
Stories about food. If you remove the alcohol, you are removing an awful lot of flavour. The challenge is keeping that flavour in. Investigating every aspect of what we eat.
It elevates the conversation about how to use food in a medicinal context.
But these meals aren't for us, they're for dogs.
The Food Programme.
An all-women team of cooks rather than professional chefs prepare dishes that even in India you'd rarely find outside domestic kitchens.
On BBC Radio 4 every Sunday lunchtime at 12:30. And available now on BBC Sounds.
This is BBC Radio 4, and as you may have gathered, we're still having some problems and can't bring you our scheduled programme at the moment. While we try to sort it out, here's a reminder of what you can find on the BBC Sounds website, where you'll discover a wide range of features to help you enjoy our programmes. Listen to radio programmes, catch the latest music tracks, enjoy classical mixtapes and discover binge-worthy podcasts, all whenever you want. Head to bbc.co.uk/sounds where you'll find lots of past Radio 4 programmes permanently archived, so you can explore years' worth of favourites such as Desert Island Discs, In Our Time, The Food Programme, Book Club, Woman's Hour, Today and many more. You can also listen to more recent broadcasts online and download them to take with you on your phone or tablet with the BBC Sounds app. You can also find a range of podcasts to download free and keep forever. Everything from our Friday night comedy to the best documentaries and dramas.
Hello and welcome to Loose Ends.
A bit of this.
With a particularly happy, talented, entertaining and impressive bunch of guests gathered round the Loose Ends table.
A bit of that.
We have 8 brothers performing on brass instruments. Is this a record?
And plenty of the other.
I thought Clive was busy cooking Faye's muffins.
BBC Radio 4's lively mix of comedy, music and conversation.
I've been approached by BBC Radio 4, so...
Right. It wasn't to present Loose Ends, was it?
Yes, swap chairs.
Clive Anderson presents Loose Ends every Saturday evening at 6:15.
I'm afraid we're still having problems bringing you our scheduled programme at the moment. Please bear with us. We're working as fast as possible to solve the problem.
I'm Alex Krotowski, and this is The Digital Human.
Navigating the digital world.
Those who design the algorithms need to have a really good grasp of the stimuli that we just can't get enough of.
The impact of technology and the internet.
Social media lets us craft whichever version of yourself that you want the world to see. You have probably spotted where we're going with this.
BBC Radio 4's The Digital Human.
There are people who have learned to be much more careful with their data than the rest of us. And yet, personal information still slips through the cracks.
Available now on BBC Sounds.
Our apologies there for losing the line to Any Answers in Cardiff. I'm afraid we weren't able to reinstate it, but we did have most of the programme. It was produced in Cardiff by Gareth Nelson Davies and the studio managers were Searle Whitney and Joe Page.
Told for the very first time, the story of a gay police officer murdered in Belfast in 1997.
People were watching Darren's movements. There were some evil people in the bar.
From the LGBT community living in the Troubles.
I don't think anywhere in the 90s advertised their venue as gay. It was all word of mouth.
To the betrayal that ended Darren Bradshaw's life.
He said he knew a cop who was regularly in this bar where he would go to, was there all the time, and would be like an easy target or whatever.
The murder that could have threatened the peace process. Blood on the Dance Floor with me, Jordan Dunbar, continues on Radio 4 and BBC Sounds on Monday morning at 11.
And now on Radio 4, a chance to hear